My name is Saddiq Dzukogi. I'm a poet, a father, a husband, a son. I am an assistant professor of English and affiliate faculty of African American Studies here at the University in Starkville, and it's the Mississippi State University. I actually just started working as an assistant professor about a month ago, immediately after finishing my PhD in creative writing and ethnic studies at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, where I have been for the past 4 years. So my book, Your Crib, My Qibla, is a book that I wrote in response to the passing of my daughter, Bahra, in 2017. She actually passed away 6 months before we moved to America. The book is just a response to the grief to her death. And ultimately, after a ritual of writing poems every day for 7 months, I decided to turn it into a book that would immortalize her life, that would keep her body and story bounded to the physical world in spite of having passed. So basically, that's why I wrote the book.
Every day, every night, people talk about injustice.
Writing is like a full-blown career for me now, right? Because it's not only what I do, it's also what I teach, right? I teach both undergrad and master students. And so it's basically both my profession, my life, the way that I get insight from the world. If there are like things that I do not understand, it's the way that I interrogate my place in the world, the place of things that I see in the world. I started writing first as a hobby, actually in response to the fact that I couldn't read at 12 or 13. And so immediately after I started reading, I wanted to write, right? To put down stories that other people can read. And for a very long time, it was a hobby for me. It was a way to navigate the world, to make sense of it. And ultimately, one day, I think in 2011, after having published a book in 2009, I decided that, I would take it more seriously because I wanted to have something that I was good at. And I said, well, I am going to try to invest time in this hobby of mine and see where it takes me in 10 years. And that's what I did. Started writing more seriously, started being more deliberate about writing, and ultimately coming to the US after winning a scholarship to study writing, in a more formal academic setting. And I think 12 years on, I am now an assistant professor who has, of course, also been shortlisted for this important prize. And yeah, I just feel grateful for all the opportunity that, I have been afforded, and all the people who have been on this journey with me, who have helped me, who have encouraged me, who have spurred me on.
Injustice that breeds suffering in the world.
Somebody with the insight to see the world. And, I think traveling is a great form of education, being exposed to different kinds of people, different kinds of culture, different kind of food, different kind of music. All of it just arms one with the knowledge of the world in ways that it complicates one's writing. Before leaving Nigeria in 2018, my writing wasn't particularly rooted in space. I just love to float around in my wild imaginations, and like things that I lost after were basically things that are hidden in the vagueness of abstractions. I love writing about stars, things that are ethereal. But once I left Nigeria, I started thinking more closely about what it means to be a Nigerian in the world, what it means to be part of a culture. And those were things that weren't of fascination to me before I left. So it's like the distance of moving away from Nigeria rooted me more in the culture that is Nigeria. And so like, I find that fascinating. And it's something that wouldn't have happened, I suspect, if I was still in Nigeria, right? Because like there's just a heightened level of patriotism even that one feels when you're far away from home, right? The way that you see other people, for example, celebrate themselves, their country, their culture, all of that sense just got heightened in me. And I tell this funny story that, like here in America, each time that I am confronted with a menu, maybe at a restaurant or at a diner, it's the moment that I feel most Nigerian, because I'd see that, like I miss eating fufu, I miss eating amala, I miss okra soup, and, like all of that. And these were things that I took for granted when I was in Nigeria. Like I didn't really think about it, right? I didn't really think about our music, like our food. But now, it seems very important to me, right? And I can see how history is rooted in food. Before I didn't, like think about food being something that could be worthy of a rigorous intellectual engagement in ways that I now comprehend.
People complaining about
it's sad that Nigeria is, and it's not just now. I believe for a very long time, people who have been moving out of Nigeria, like Nigeria is undergoing brain drain, right? And it's difficult, right? Because with the way that things are set up right now, a lot of young people, feel like there's nothing, for them in the country. And so if they think they have something to offer, they rather, go to the UK or, US or anywhere else, in the world that would afford them the opportunity to express themselves, whether in art form or any other professional means. But I see also the positive, right? Because like there's just like a lot of people out there in the world. Nigeria, unfortunately, has somewhat of a bad image out there in the world. So like all these exciting professionals who are doing really great things out there in the world, I see them as like a good ambassador for the country, right? Just to expose the world to the Nigerian story by way of its professionals, whether it's in academia or the medical field, or even in the field of art, literature, and even recently pop culture. The way that people engage with like Nollywood, especially other people from Africa, with Nigerian content, right? Like music. That's like a soft power that I think can be harnessed to translate into like economic development, because like people like are interested in Nigerian story, they're interested in Nigerian music. All of these are like good, positive, and some of those growth are as a result of like the engagement that these professionals have had by way of travel, right? They've seen the world, and I believe, like a lot of people would rather that, that some of the situation back home is not as it is, so that, like they can come and contribute to the development of Nigeria in a more concrete way that, like people back home would feel their impact. Like the other day I was part of a reading, and like people were talking about something similar, and like I said this, and I've repeated here that like we place a lot of responsibility on the writer, but the writer's job is just to tell a story, right? To translate the reality, the daily reality of like people into something that can be preserved in a literary text, or like if it's even an artist in a painting, or like in music, right? Like, so they respond. So I don't know much about how like writing can change Nigeria. I just know how writing can preserve the history of Nigeria, so that like future generations can engage with that past and decide for themselves, like what direction they want to travel to. Because like when you document a particular experience, I think it's an opportunity to learn, right? To learn even from the past mistakes, like of forebears, and to ensure that the future does not carry the vices of the past, and to ensure that the good things of the past are replicated in the future, or the present, or heightened in the future or in the present.
No house, no money to spend.
Yeah, I think like there is something close to a revolution happening right now in Nigeria, in a lot of fields, right? In spite of the great uncertainty, the political uncertainty, the security uncertainty, people are really creating great art in Nigeria, and there are like a lot of young people who are writing and publishing works in literary journals all over the world. But like the great advice that I have is, for people who want to be writers, to take it seriously, to read books, and also to pay attention to the environment, to listen to music, and to just have a confidence in their voice, that their story is important, not just to themselves, but also to the society. Because ultimately, the society is a collection of people, right? And every one individual person has got an important story to contribute to the society. And so I would just say to trust their voice, to trust their creative instinct, and to continue to hone their craft, and to continue to lost towards like a development of the self and the voice.
People are yearning.
In terms of leadership, my definition of what a good leader is would be somebody who's selfless, somebody who would put the interest of the public first, rather than their own interest. Somebody that would be genuinely interested in the development of the society, and hope there is equity and justice for all, regardless if they're from their ethnic or religious background. So that would be what I think a good leader should be made up of. But yeah, in terms of role models, in terms of leadership, well, that's a tough one, which is unfortunate, right? But I haven't really paid attention to that. I'm not a very political person in that sense. I try to, stay out of that kind of politics, which is probably not a wise thing to do, because like what happens, when people are not engaging with the political affairs of society is that then, like you surrender, the mantle of leadership to people who are less qualified. But yeah, I really cannot think about a particular leader. I mean, in the context of Nigeria, who I would say is my role model. Because oftentimes when I look at leaders, like from Nigeria, there's this tendency to be leaders for their own people, like their own people, which means, the region that they're from, like the religion that they're from. But yeah, but I think I might correct that. There was somebody that I liked a lot, and he's late now. I think I had a great fascination for Chuba Okadibo. But of course, he never got to hold a position of the highest office in the land, outside of being the Senate president. But I know that, growing up, I really admire him. And even now, like I often think what it would be like, to have somebody like that be the president of Nigeria, for instance. He was so eloquent and so wise, and I think so kind too. So yeah, I think he's the only one that I think of that comes close to something that I would call a role model.
For freedom and justice.
Yeah, so the book that I would say first inspires and me is the environment. So like it's not like a physical book, but I take reading to mean paying attention, to mean observation. And I am a child that, and a student of nature, a student of my environment. I love to take long walks in the woods, to listen to the birds chirping in trees, to listen to the sound of the wind blowing against leaves. I love to engage in that kind of readership. But in terms of books, and in terms of writers, I like the writing of Kwame Dawes, who's like my mentor and like my literary father. I like the work of T.S. Eliot, particularly The Wasteland, and this poem, The Love Song of Alfred Prufrock. Oftentimes when I feel lost, I return to that poem, because I feel like it gives me the permission to create a new kind of poetics, even one that is not like mainstream, right? It gives me the permission to be experimental with language, to pursue language that would have a precision of relaying what my reality feels like. I also read a lot of contemporary African writers, writers like Ladan Usman, people of my generation like Romeo, Hussein Ahmad, Wale Owade, David Ishaya Osu. I try to read most of the writing coming out of Nigeria, particularly that of the younger generation, right? Because like in some ways, my work is in conversation with theirs. I also read works of the generation that I consider like forebears. I particularly like the work of Wole Soyinka, I've read a lot of his plays, and the way that he uses language, the way that he's comfortable in language, is something that I aspire to. I also love reading the work of the Kenyan writer who's late now, Binyavanga Wainaina. He has just a book. But yeah, there's just a lot of books out there, and I try to read whatever my hands can catch. NLNG has been, which the NLNG, which gives out the Nigerian Prize in Literature, has been impactful, right? It's like the highest literary honor in the country. And it's, it's something that, a lot of writers aspire to, and it gives visibility to a lot of books, which is good. And it does it in a cool way, right? Which is good. I wish there, like more corporations and more organizations that would, endow prizes in literature, because it's an important component, of every society to document its story, because any society or civilization that doesn't write about itself would ultimately vanish. So it's been immense, and the longevity of the award too, of the prize, it's been issued out, I think, since 2004, 2005. So it's good to see that there's a serious literary prize that has had a great number of great writers win it, and also the opportunity for people to also win it, right? I think it's good. It's really important, and it's like a festival now that people always paying attention to every year, as the prize rotates between poetry, prose, children literature, and drama. So I think, yeah, this is an important prize that needs to be supported and even grown further. Yeah, $100,000 is a lot of money, but I'd love to be honest. I rarely live in the future, because living in the future would stop one from enjoying the present. So I am reveling in the joy that is the present now, being on the shortlist. And to God, I haven't even thought about the money yet. Seriously thought about it, but what I would do with the money if I win, I do not spend the money that I do not have. So when and if it's mine, I do know that I'd love to share a piece of it with the shortlisters. I do know that I'd want to set up something in the memory of my daughter. I do know that I want to share the piece of money with all the people who have supported me, who have encouraged me as a person, as a young professional, because it wouldn't be, if I win, it wouldn't be just my win. It would be the win for all of those people out there who were part of my journey as a writer, as a person, and also just the community that I am a part of. So yeah, now that you've forced me to think about the money, I think that's like a rough sketch of what I would do with it. Could it have been across the beer? Could suffering have been distant? No. Or could it have been across the beer? With lack and abundance, living side by side, we can exchange the pains for joy. If only we know who we are. What a life.
day, every night, people talking about injustice. Ooh, suffering is real, but why should it say?